Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on Eric's Autism World blog. I really appreciate everyone joining me this evening, and for some odd reason, I was not able to upload the video, which was our blog, but I apologize for that. And the time right now is 10:45 Eastern Standard Time, and pretty much what we're specifically going to talk about is not about. I guess we're going to go ahead and talk about meltdowns and all that other stuff. I wish I had my bag right here, but I would have to go and grab it. I'm going to pause this for a moment. I'll be right back. I'm going to see if I can get it. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I'm Eric Tallman on the Eric's Autism World blog. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, some of the things that we're going to go over really quick, I am going to make it quick because the news is about to start, but I'm not really worried about it. When I get the chance to watch the news, I'll watch the news. I don't know why that's in the way. That shouldn't have been there. Hold on just 1 second so I can get this stuff out of the way. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know how that got in the way. Okay, today we're going to talk about respect the STEM. And that is basically for people that have autism. And I have specifically told you that we were going to talk about that. And that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's go forward. STEMs are physical behavior such as movement or sounds used by individuals with autism and sensory processing disorder. It provides a sensory input that helps regulate their neurological state. So this is how I'm going to point it out. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'll tell you how you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Those will be the last things that I will talk about. And maybe it won't be today, but maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Stimming can be a calm, comfort, and communication. That's one. Stimming may express. That is another thing. Stimming is... So there are three different things that we'll talk about. I've already told you that stimming can be a calm, comfort, and communication. Stimming may express joy, excitement, fear, pain, fatigue, sensory overload. Stimming is healthy, environmental, and important. A stim may interpolate that it is a problem. A stim is not the problem. So basically, in regards to stimming and people that have autism, there's different parts of the spectrum that we'll go over in the next episode. This is just my tablet that you can see. I'm going to click on here and see what's going on. Okay. I don't really think that's anything important, so, excuse me. So everyone understands that if people with autism that are autistic. And it all depends on the spectrum, if they're high functioning, low functioning, severe autism. So basically, in regards to the stimming and the respect of the stimming, it's actually normal. But also, it can actually trigger other things, and we'll go over that in just a couple of moments. But basically, what I want to verify that I'm one of those people that do a lot of that as well. And it happens a lot. It's an everyday thing, and I'll explain the rest of that at a later time. Basically, one thing that you do have to understand, that people with autism, if they go into stimming, you can't go up to the person and tell them to stop stimming. And when you say that to them, they will continue to stim, even though you're telling them to stop doing that. They'll continue to stim. So that will continue. Also, they will block out anything that they don't want to hear. For an example, things that are going to upset them, that will upset them, put them in sensory overload. So just want to verify that. People with cerebral palsy can also be born with autism or have a later diagnosis, and it basically all depends. It can happen when they're born. Sometimes it can happen like when they're 12, 13, like in their teenage years, or maybe later on in life. So it all depends on the year, of course. But anyway, we will talk about the stimming once again that might express joy, excitement. So if there's something exciting that they're very interested in, they will do a lot of stimming, because there's something very exciting and they're thinking about that in particular subject or interest, and they know that that activity is coming, so they're really, really into it and very excited. So we wanted to tell you about that as well. Fear is another thing that I want to talk about. We're going to get a few interruptions, but we're going to continue. Basically, I want to verify that we are going to talk about fear, and then we'll go onward and upward. So in regards to fear, that is basically explaining to you that they have a fear of different things that can happen, such as a lot of them do not like severe weather. They do not like it when there's a power outage. That is a fear that will put them in sensory overload, and that when they go into sensory overload, that is not a good thing. That will also cause them to do a lot of stimming. But like I said, it is actually a comfort, and that is the way they communicate. And also when they're stimming, they will either make a noise, and that can basically be constant. And that's another way that they communicate when something is really bothering them, or there's a lot of noise, a lot of excitement going on, or yelling or anything like that. That will cause sensory overload. Then they get very upset and unhappy, and they will go into a meltdown, and that's where they're upset. They don't like loud noises. They don't like, for example, they do not like fire drills, or let's say severe weather, severe thunderstorms, tornado warnings, all that kind of stuff. They don't like any kind of weather stuff. I know, as a matter of fact, I don't like it when the power outage. If there's power that's going to go out, like yesterday it happened, and it scared me completely. I was in sensory overload. I I was actually in a very, very bad fear that something was going to happen, and I had to figure out what the necessary options would be to calm myself down. So if I'm doing a lot of stimming, that is just indicating that that is comfort. It keeps me calm, and then that does calm myself from being in sensory overload. But when you're having a meltdown, that is very, very serious. A meltdown can cause all types of different things, where you're yelling at people and going up to people saying, I'm having an anxiety attack. That's the other thing I want to talk about. With the stimming, that will cause a lot of anxiety. So if they have a lot of anxiety, for an example, I have severe anxiety, so there is a lot of things that do happen. So if I'm nervous or something like that, or I know that something's going to happen, like I don't like fire drills, that kind of thing, and if the power was to go out, I would make a noise, I would start screaming, and it may be a constant scream, like very, very loud. If there is a loud noise, I'll start screaming, and people come up to me and ask me if I'm okay, but I may not give them direct eye contact, and I may not respond to what they're saying, or maybe not know that they're there. But like I said, if you see a person stimming, you do not want to go up to the person and tell them. You go up to the person and they're stimming. You don't want to go up to them and say, stop. You don't. Okay, let me reverse this for a minute. If a person is continuing to stim, you cannot go up to the person and tell them, stop stimming. Like, for an example, if someone asked me to stop stimming, I would continue to do that. If someone asked me to stop, I would continue to do that. I don't know how long it will last, but it's just automatically your brain is the one that controls that, and your brain is actually the one that will actually control that and make it stop or whatever. Sometimes it's automatic, and it may or may not be all day. It all depends on what's going on, and if it's a lot of noise, a lot of people, a lot of crowded people. People with autism do not like that. So let's say they're at a restaurant, department store, the mall. If it's crowded, that might be a lot of distraction. Another thing that would be very helpful is to have very special headphones. I wish I had them with me. I may pause this for a moment and show you what they are, but in the next video we'll talk about different ways of calming yourself during very stressful times. That will put you in sensory overload, especially if you're going to be in the mall or if you're at school or anything like that. So we'll talk about different subjects next time in the next autism blog. So please come back and join me tomorrow. And if I don't do a blog tomorrow, it is going to be on Saturday, and I'll let you know. But hopefully I'll be able to do a blog tomorrow. So I just want to go over a couple of things before we end this. I usually don't do this, but I just want to go over this. The first thing we're going to talk about is social interaction. That would be making eye contact, enjoying interaction with others, etc. That means that It's another way of communicating. Social interaction. Communication, using words correctly to communicate, meaning that it can be verbal or nonverbal, where if it's nonverbal, they have to use a communication device to communicate, such as a tablet, an iPad, where it would have a special program where they're able to spell out what kind of day they had, what's wrong, their name, all that kind of stuff. So if you look at a lot of stuff on autism, it will basically explain to you, or you can actually look up an article, print it out, and they will tell you all the basics on everything that you need to know about autism. So that's the reason why I'm explaining this to you before we end this. Okay, last but not least, we're going to talk about behaviors. We're going to talk about sensory. We're going to talk about motor. And that's going to end that. And then I'll explain the rest of the signs and symptoms. There's so much to explain to you. So we'll go ahead and we talked about communication. Now we're going to go over behaviors. Repetitive behaviors. Unusual behaviors include hand flapping, etc. So that can be all types of different things, such as hand flapping. That's another way of communication. Spinning around in circles, pacing back and forth, or let's see, rocking back and forth. I would say in your chair or whatever, or rocking side to side. I do both at the same time, or if I'm in the chair and something is making me nervous or anxious or excited, I will do that constantly, but I have to wait for my brain to make that stop, or however you want to put it. For that behavior, it could be intense or it could be a mild episode. It all depends on how bad it is. If it's intense, that is possibly all day. Sometimes the stimming may happen for a couple of minutes. Maybe it might vary. It all depends on how bad it is. But I'll look up an article and explain that to you later. Sensory, that's another thing. This is in response to touch, smell, sound, taste, and feel. Not very sensitive. That would mean pain. That means that a lot of people with autism are not sensitive to pain, meaning that they do not feel pain. So let's say it's a shot, they're going to the dentist, or something like that, or I don't know, a whole bunch of things. Vice versa, meaning everything in between. Or if they're going to have an IV or something like that, they're really sensitive to pain, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, there's a whole bunch of things on here in this article. I went over the basics pretty much, but like I said, in regards to pain, they may not be not very sensitive to pain or very sensitive to pain. So if they're very sensitive to pain, I would have to give you an answer to that one tomorrow. And not very sensitive to pain, I'm not sure exactly what that would mean. So I will explain more about autism, and this is basically on behaviors, unusual behaviors that you'd see with someone with autism. So that basically explains what that is all about, and I thought that I had uploaded the other autism blog, but obviously I deleted it by mistake. So let's see, the title for this is going to be signs and symptoms, and symptoms of autism as well. Let me go over one more thing and we're going to end this. Okay. This is what an example of range of symptoms with autism. The following chart below. A person may have a range, regularization, or however you want to pronounce it, I don't know. Have a little interest in other people, use limited verbal language, express interest, self simulation behavior such as hand flapping, underreacts to pain or overreact to sounds, have a very good motor skills, and have weakness in fine motor skills. But there are other facts on autism that I will explain to you in tomorrow's edition. So come back and join me, and I'll have a whole lot more on that. But that actually covers the signs and symptoms of autism, and then we'll talk about diagnoses and the amounts and all that kind of stuff. The range and the numbers on the charts on autism. So we will talk about that because, like I said, the numbers continue to grow every year for people that get diagnosed with autism. So we will talk about that and also talk about adults that can also be diagnosed with autism. And sometimes you may not know about the diagnosis, and let's say it's kind of late, and let's say they go and you have to go to various tests and get tested to find out what your diagnosis is, etc., vice versa. So I'll be talking a lot more about autism tomorrow and again this weekend. So we'll do a blog Friday and Saturday and possibly on Sunday. I'll try and get those articles together. And thank you so much for joining me on Eric's Autism World. And this covers today's blog. We'll see you in the next one. Everybody have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. I don't think the next blog is going to be as long as it is today. I just had a lot to talk about and cover for today. Like I said, I do apologize about yesterday. I thought I uploaded this and noticed that it was not on there, but I will make sure that it's on there and I'll write it down. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. And we'll let you know about the schedule as well. So come back and join me then. Everybody have a nice night.